Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to return to Finland, and this is my first proper Finnish craft beer review, so I'm very excited for this one. The other ones I reviewed for you, Lapinkulta and Sinebrikov, are actually quite big production beers, even though the Sinebrikov is pretty damn good, so I'm really interested to do this beer for you today. So we're going to go to Tampere, which is actually the biggest inland city in the Nordic countries, about 220,000 people, and we're going to visit Panimoravintola Plevna, literally brewery restaurant Plevna, and this is a beer that is very highly decorated. This is the Siperia, which is their imperial stout, and it comes in at 8% ABV, and I read that this beer is really interesting because it's got the typical malt characteristics that you expect of an imperial stout, but it does have quite a bit of hoppy character as well, so I'm really interested to see what this guy is all about, and I think that these guys are actually one of the oldest craft breweries in Finland, so if those of you watching in Finland could let me know about that, that would be hugely appreciated. But a big thank you to my classmate Leo, who actually brought this beer back for me with him when he was home in Finland. A huge thank you for that, and hopefully this opens the gateway to many more Finnish craft beer reviews. You will see another one in a few videos time that Leo bought me, so a huge thank you again to Leo for that. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, which does have English by the way, the link to my other Panimoravintola beer reviews that I can hopefully add in the near future. This is the very first time I'm trying one of their beers obviously, and there's all the usual social media things, Facebook, Twitter and Untappd, so please follow me on there. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel, and to those of you watching in Finland, please do let me know some other beers and breweries that you guys would like me to try. I really would love to review more Finnish beer, but obviously it is quite hard to get, so please do let me know about that, and I will apologise in advance for butchering your language, because no doubt I'll pronounce the Finnish things wrong. The Finno-Ugric languages are a very difficult thing to get your head around. Estonian, Finnish and Hungarian, they're pretty damn difficult actually. But anyway, to tell you about the brewery, so Panimoravintola Plevna, literally brewery restaurant Plevna, is a brewery that's located in Tampere in Finland. As I said, about 220,000 people and the largest inland city in the Nordic countries. But the company also goes by the name Koski Panimo, which means something along the lines of like Grand Rapids or Waterfall Brewery, I believe. Do correct me on that if I'm wrong. But the company was founded back in 1994, and it's located in the old weaving hall of a cotton mill founded by Scotsman James Finlayson back in 1820. So I should be quite happy that there's some Scottish involvement in the foundation of this brewery. But during the Russo-Finnish War of 1877 to 1878, there were men from the Finlayson mill who fought in the war alongside Russian troops. But the tradition at the time was that any new building at the factory was named after current events, and since the weaving room was built in 1877, it was named Plevna after the siege of Plevna, which was quite a significant battle during this Russo-Turkish war. And today Plevna is actually Pleven in Bulgaria, just in case you're wondering. But with this in mind, the owners of the brewery felt that it was appropriate that they named their pub Plevna. So this is a kind of historical tradition that is carried on. But another historical event that's associated with this brewery is that the Finlayson cotton mill was actually the first place in the Nordic countries to install electric lights, and there's a plaque actually very close to the pub to commemorate this event from 1882. But the city of Tampere has a long tradition of brewing, and there's many of these breweries actually merged together. Some of them only lasted for a very short period of time, or others just completely shut down after long periods in operation. But the last of these breweries in operation before Plevna was a share brewery which was called Piniki, and this operated from 1920 to 1985. But today Panimoravintola Plevna brews over 200,000 litres of beer per year, and the head brewer is Sam Vitaniemi, and he brews beers in accordance with the German purity law, obviously the Reinheitsgebot, which is a very, very strict law, actually the oldest food law in the world. But they also produce cider as well, and they offer beer tastings and brewing courses at the brewery. So like I say, you can check out the brewery website, and they do have English, German and also Russian in there as well, and you can read more about the brewery history and all the courses and things that they do themselves. But if you do find yourself in Tampere for any reason, I would recommend that you visit these guys. The pictures of the pub look really nice, and as I say, I'm pretty sure they're one of the oldest, if if not the oldest craft beer place that you're going to find in Finland, and their beers are very highly rated as well. So just to list the other beers you can get from these guys, there's the Pils Luomu, Tuma Dark, which is a kind of Czech style beer apparently, there's the Bock, Dry Stout, Severian Extra IPA, Piku Musta, which is a dark Czech lager, Venalout, which is a wheat beer, Tati 3, Tati 4, both of which are lagers, Siperia Stout, which is an imperial stout, this guy here obviously, James Savalut, which is a Rauch beer. I would love to try that one because, as you know if you've watched my channel, I do love Rauch beers. Smora Ruiz, which is an IPA, and there's also Panimoravintola, which is a mead beer, and I would love to try the mead one as well actually. And they do have 3 different ciders, apple, pear and extra dry. So as I say, if you want to read more about those beers or the ciders, do check out the brewery website in the description below. But anyway, that's enough about the brewery, so let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer. So as I mentioned to you at the start of the video, this one is an imperial stout. It comes in at 8%, and apparently this one is quite well known because it has some really interesting hoppy characteristics that complement the usual malty notes that you expect of an imperial IPA. Like I said, rated at 99 on Rate Beer overall and 93 within the style. But just to tell you a little bit about this beer, this one is hopped with Mount Hood, Simcoe, Tomahawk and Vanguard hops, and apparently this beer was introduced to commemorate the 5th anniversary of Piku Lintu Bar and Whiskey Pub, which is a nice venue in Helsinki. So it was originally a special occasion beer, but it proved to be very popular. It's won a hell of a lot of awards, and you will actually find this beer in a book that my sister bought me for Christmas, which is called 1001 Beers to Drink Before You Die. So you will find this beer in there. So I'll just let you have a little quick look at the artwork of this one before we open it up. We'll just bring the camera back up there, cross off my brewery notes. So as you can see, quite nicely presented. It has this kind of almost Russian looking eagle on it actually. It reminds a little bit of this badge actually that's on this reminds me of the Russian national football team crest, although it maybe does mean something a bit more significant in Finland actually. So those of you watching from Finland, please do let me know about that. You can see there is the Plevna bottle cap on this one. As I said, an imperial stout that comes in at 8% and some really nice American hops in this one. So without further ado, let's get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting here. Huge thank you again to Leo for providing me with this beer. So yeah, as you can see, a nice smoky opening on this one, and I will say that about this, when you open it up you really can smell the hoppy characters coming out of this beer. It does have a nice tropical fruit note actually. That would be the Simcoe. The Simcoe always gives you some nice kind of passion fruity aromas with a bit more going on in there. You can usually get a bit mango and stuff actually, but you can really smell these nice kind of fruity notes coming out of this one. So as you can see, as you would expect with it being an imperial stout, it's poured a really nice dark ebony colour. The head on it actually is really quite light. It's just a nice light beigey colour. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the head on this one. A few little ones just going up towards the bottom of it there. You can see there's no transparency to this beer just because of how dark it is. If I bring the light over and we put it through, it is, you know, it is pitch black. You're not going to get any light from that. Not even a ruby edge on this one actually, but you can see the head is just about a half finger. But overall it looks very nice. One or two little tiny bits of sediment in the bottom of the glass, but yeah, looks exactly as you would expect from an imperial stout. So let's have a look at the aroma on this beer. So without sugaring this beer up, you actually get a nice, it's actually quite forward on the hoppy side of things. As I said, the thing that's interesting about this beer is that it does have the hoppy characteristics too, but you can smell the roasted malt underneath this one. There's definitely a bit of chocolate in there, you know, some roasted character, a bit of coffee, some roasted bread too, but the thing that's really sticking out, as I say, is the hops. There's some nice, juicy, almost tropical and citrusy hops coming out of this one. You can smell the passion fruit and the mango in this one, which is really, really nice. So let's sugar it up and see what else we can get out of this one. Most of the hops that are in this one, the likes of the Tomahawk and the Mount Hood and the Vanguard as well, they're all quite floral aromatic hops. The Tomahawk gives you a bit more spicy character, but the Vanguard and the Mount Hood, even though they're American hops, they do tend to have more kind of noble hop character, just a little bit floral character. On the website that I always use to read about hops, it says those two are better for like German style beers, and they give you nice clean kind of floral bitterness. But you can definitely smell that in this one. When you sugar it up, the hoppy character starts to come out a bit more, and it definitely smells like these German noble hops. You could easily mistake this for like a sort of Hallertau Tettnanger aroma on this one. But as I say, those fruity characters are coming out, the Simcoe fruits, you know, the passion fruits, a little bit of mango or peaches or something in there. Probably more mango actually, because it is a little bit more juicy. Peach is a very distinct aroma. It's a little bit kind of dusty, I guess, but you can smell some of the more pungent passion fruit in this one. But it is quite subtle, the passion fruit, though. It's more of a juicy, fruity character you're getting from this one. But those nice German noble hops are there. A little bit of earthy character from them too. But overall, nice and chocolatey, a little bit of licorice, and some roasted bready character in there too. It smells like a very nice beer. When it comes to something as complex as this, just spend a little bit of time and actually get used to the aroma, but we'll get stuck into this one now. So this is the Siperia, an imperial stout, very highly decorated, from Panimoravintola Plevna in Tampere in Finland. Skål from Sweden, or Slange as we would say in Scotland. Cheers. Now that is really interesting. The mouthfeel on this one is a lot more like a black IPA or something like that. It's really quite light and quite hoppy in the mouthfeel, like I was saying, but then when you move into the aftertaste, just on that first sip, these roasted characters are really coming out of this one. Yeah, this is really quite unusual for an imperial stout. It's very unusual actually. I think it's actually quite low on the ABV for an imperial stout as well. Most of the imperial stouts that I've drank recently have been up in around 10%. But this one is, as I say, the unique thing about this one is just how hoppy it is. So yeah, with this beer, the middle of your palate is just blanketed with a nice bready character there, and there's a kind of coffee, very almost ashy malt base that just builds in the middle of your tongue, and it's actually really quite dry, to be honest with you. That dryness in the middle of your palate just builds and starts to push its way out. Sugar this beer around your palate as well and just let the whole mouth adjust. But that said, a bit later in the palate you start to get some nice kind of chocolatey flavours coming out of this one, I would say, but they're quite subtle in comparison to the big dry and bitter character that dominates this beer. Yeah, really as you move into the aftertaste, the beer comes in and that dryness comes in and just kind of starts to punch its way out, but then the mouth kind of wets itself again, and you do get a little bit of chocolate out of this beer. There's no licorice or anything like that. The chocolate is quite subtle in this. This one is more of a roasted, kind of a very roasted kind of bready malt base you're getting out of this beer. There's not even like a kind of woody or nutty infusion to this beer actually that you would expect from the malt base. It's definitely big roasted coffee, almost ashy character. It reminds me a little bit of, you know, if you have a loaf of bread from the bakery and the top of it's well fired. It reminds me of these kind of crusty, bread crusty tastes, the malt base in this one. But as I say, the quirky thing about this beer is definitely the hoppy character that you get from it. It's a very, it's just very, very unusual. These floral aromatic hops that are in this beer are very, very interesting. So yeah, at the back corners of the palate, there's a little bit of earthy character, and that just kind of sits there. It's actually quite dry, to be honest with you. The earthy character that you get at the very back corners is quite dry, but as you come further forward, it stays quite dry on the sides of the palate, but it becomes more floral in flavour, and as you go around the front curve of the tongue, there's a good mix of the kind of floral and sort of just grassy character, like the Mount Hood, the Vanguard, are definitely in there. You can detect a little bit of the Tomahawk character. The Tomahawk is the one that's giving you the dryness behind the front corners of the palate. Of course, I love the Amor beers from Denmark, from Copenhagen, and they love Tomahawk hops in there. They love to use Tomahawk because it gives you this nice spicy kind of floral aromatic character, and you can definitely detect that in here. But if you just go behind the front curve of the tongue there, you can pick out some of the Simcoe aspects, and as I say, there's a little bit of passion fruit in there, pardon me, and a little bit of mango too. There's almost a bit of a kind of citrusy flavour in there as well, which is really interesting. As I say, this is a very, very quirky beer, but in my opinion, fully deserving of its rating of 99 on Rate Beer. You know, it's very quirky, but it's very enjoyable. It almost comes across as more like a black IPA, this one. You could mistake this for a black IPA, but it's very ashy, it's very roasty, and there's a good bit of coffee in here. It's almost like it could almost be like a smoked imperial stout, if that makes sense, just because of how ashy it is in the mouthfeel. And it's almost as if just that ashy character is what distinguishes it as a stout rather than a black IPA. Black IPAs, in my opinion, tend to be just that little bit sweeter than kind of imperial stouts like this. But I mean, you can argue about styles all day. The most important thing is that this is a very good beer. So in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I would say it's actually quite light-bodied. I was surprised at how light-bodied this is. I was thinking it was going to be a little bit heavier on the body than that. It looked quite viscous when you were pouring it out, but it is quite light in the mouthfeel. Trust me on that one. But that doesn't mean it's lacking in flavour. As I always say, with certain countries, particularly France actually, when you try French craft beer, it's always very light in the mouthfeel, but it's full of flavour, and this beer is exactly like that as well. So it'll be interesting to see if that develops as a trend for these Finnish craft beers. But very light in the body, I would say. Probably mid-bodied is a good way to describe this one, but it is on the light side of that. But as I said, it's got a big roasty bitterness in this one. The carbonation is actually quite smooth, I would say. Yeah, there's a little bit of activity to it, and it helps bring out some of the juicy hoppy characters, but overall, carbonation is quite smooth. There's not much oily character to this beer. There's a good malty dryness to this one. It's big and it's roasty. There is a little bit of sweetness, as I was saying. The beer becomes wet again just after a little while, and you get some chocolate in there. But overall, the malt character in this one is quite dry. The hops are actually a lot wetter, but even with that, you get some earthy dryness in the back corners of the palate and some floral dryness from those nice, almost noble character hops. The Simcoe gives you the nice juicy fruit character. The Vanguard, the Mount Hood, and the Tomahawk give you the sort of floral aromaticity. Very, very nicely done, this beer, and as I said, very, very quirky. So for this beer, I would recommend it to people who like black IPAs, oddly enough. As I said, it has a bit of character that reminds me of the black IPAs. The nice hoppy quirkiness to this beer, but the nice big kind of roasted malt base. So this beer is good for you if you like sort of smoky flavours a little bit. But it's a very ashy smoky flavour, I would say. But this one is definitely for people who love these black IPA beers. I can see if you enjoy dark roasted flavours combined with the nice juicy fruity hops, then you will enjoy this beer. And I've enjoyed it simply because of how quirky it is. But it's very well produced. You can tell the quality of this beer when you drink it, and overall fully deserving of its rating that it has on Rate Beer, in my opinion. So hopefully I can return to this brewery in the near future and try some more of their beers. Panimoravintola Plevna from Tampere. This is one of their most highly decorated beers, the Siperia. So hopefully I can return to these guys. It would be interesting to try their mead and their Rauch beer. So hopefully I can get a hold of them somehow. Maybe I can convince Leo to bring me those if he can get them through Alko in Finland. But it's been a great privilege to review this beer for you. As always, please let me know in the comments section below your own thoughts on this beer. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, especially those of you watching in Finland. Please do let me know some other beers and breweries to have a look at. But I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Until the next one, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and check out Panimoravintola Plevna, or was it Koski Panimo they're also called, or is Panimo Koski, something like that. Go and check out these guys from Tampere anyway. They've got a really nice bar there. But I thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next one, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and check out my social media things, but most importantly, go and check out Panimoravintola in Tampere. Once again, thank you for watching, and I will catch you soon. And there is another Finnish beer review for you coming up soon, so do stay tuned for that, and I'll catch you later. Go and check out the Siperia from Panimoravintola Plevna. Cheers.